All right. Hey, we're going to do this thing.
Awesome.
So,
I'm
uh,
excited.
for those of us who are not on this call, everybody except Derrick and I, but reminders to ourselves, we're doing an experimental podcast. We have had a series of conversations for some time now that we've realized, there's some things that we think might be useful takeaways to people. We've done a couple of experiments and shared them with family and friends, and they're like, "Hey, keep going." So, thanks for joining us. Thanks for choosing to take some time to listen and watch. So, we're in the early stages, so please be patient with our rough edges. This is going to be imperfect, and hopefully we can get it better, especially with feedback from people who are listening in or watching. So.
Yeah.
Hope you have a good time. We're going to have a good time too. So the
We
idea,
appreciate you listening. We appreciate you giving us a shot here.
absolutely, yeah. So if nothing else, we're two friends from school who are now also professional coaches, and we have a lot of affinities in our background, um, and we like to have a good conversation. So with that, we'll give you some I guess biographical details in the information for the video below. But for now, let's just get into it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So Derrick, one of the things that you and I have been talking about and noticing not only in our own lives but also talking with clients, um, is this persistent um, value that we have found and that people seem to kind of have a craving for, which is some time to reflect. And it's really important in coaching, um, and in one's personal growth to take time to reflect on your experiences, and create a window for growth. And
Hmm.
we will probably talk about that often. I think keep coming back to that, and I think, but you in particular thought this was an important thing for us to talk about now. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think this topic has a lot of meaning in the time that we're in. My experience with clients and also just in my social life is that it's just a lot of pressure in society right now. It's almost like a pressure cooker. Professionally, I think that it's a tight job market. People are feeling a little crunched at work. There's sort of this specter of AI that's making people maybe a little apprehensive, a little anxious. Uh, Socially, I think there's a lot of upheaval right now. There's a lot of polarization, and I think that people feel pushed to move, to act. There's a lot of kinetic energy, right? There's like people feel galvanized in some respects, but in others, they feel like they just got to go. And I think it's very in line with sort of the hustle culture that we hear about, right? And people grinding. And I think there's a lot of that energy in society right now. And um, what I see is people not taking enough time to slow down and reflect.
Mm.
And I think it's really, really important to do that in this period that we're navigating right now as a society.
If you are cranking constantly and then you stop, get something to eat, and sleep, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are also reflecting. You may be
Mm,
resting, but you're not reflecting, right?
yeah. When we talk about this concept of pausing and slowing down, there's an intentionality to it.
Mm.
There's a quality of it where you're not on autopilot. I think a lot of times when you're going, you're sort of going instinctively. You're going on muscle memory, right? But when you slow down, I think you get the most out of it when you are intentional about the reflection and the recharge and sort of going inward and getting in touch with yourself. And sometimes sometimes slowing down is not synonymous with recharge,
Hmm.
right? Because of kind of what's going on in your head. I think that's really, really important. The other thing that I think, Neil, about slowing down is, and what we see in society right now, I think everything has a rhythm. I think life has a rhythm, right? And a real maybe crude way of visualizing that rhythm is like a sine wave, peaks and valleys. And I will say that myself and a lot of people who have kind of have had an achievement mindset, you kind of have this hack, right? Where you say, well, hey, I'm going to get higher peaks on this wave by, um, you know, continuing to work. I'm not going to go into the down, like into the trough. I'm just going to keep going. And that can really be counterproductive. That can be draining. That, in the end, it doesn't help when you keep working. You kind of have to have that downtime so that you can come out of that refreshed and actually achieve, kind of max out your achievement. But again, because of the because of the societal pressure, a lot of people don't think that way. And I certainly didn't think that way for a long stretch of my life and my career.
Mm. Yeah. So kind of like we were just talking about sine waves, and it's interesting. You talk about that kind of that high peak, of energy and intensity, right? For what you're doing.
Mm,
We both have had those periods in our career or even in a given week, right? Um,
yeah.
and I intentionally left this kind of up there because I think maybe what we don't think about, if we think about a sine wave, we think about things having kind of like a a natural order of give and take, um,
Hmm.
the higher the
Hmm.
peak.
And thanks for the diagram.
Sure.
These two engineers here, right? Two
Yeah.
mechanical engineers talking. When we say sine wave, we know what it is. Some
And
people may not. So, yeah.
so you and I know the sine wave intimately in several ways. So there's
Mm,
that aspect of intense peaks, but also potentially intense lows, right?
yes.
And that intensity, there was something that you mentioned was intentionality about how we spend that time between peaks, or that, what it, we like to focus on kind of the upper part of it when we're kind of performing, high performance area, right? And then this is I think if you casually thinking, you might say, well, this is the non-performance area.
Hmm.
We're either on or off. And
Hmm.
to your point about burnout, right? We are not machines. Like we can't operate at that high level all the time. We're natural, part of the natural world.
There's a in that downtime, it's absolutely time for you to slow down and physically recover. But I think we've talked on this in this conversation about the benefit of reflecting. And I think about sports, right? Sports has a rhythm too, right? Their quarters, their halves, their periods in hockey, and those chunks of time in between the action is when players are not just sitting and hydrating, they're actually thinking about what happened. And they're thinking about, they're kind of evaluating, right? With the help of a coach, they're evaluating their performance. They're evaluating what they did, what the other team's doing, and thinking about how they need to show up when it's time to go back up the curve.
Mm,
So that's really precious time, right? To again reflect and to think about not just sort of what's going on physically, but what's going on with you. Sometimes you see players in games very reflective, you could tell that they are just getting in touch with themselves at their core
hmm.
to prepare for what's coming next. So that's maybe articulating some of the intentionality around how you can effectively use these downtimes. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Not to go too far into Golden State Warriors land because we're both fans, but you see how when they're on the bench, when the Golden State Warriors are on the bench, there are some players who are very active in giving back to their teammates, or whether it's advice or energy, or and you see some who are just kind of they just sit and rest, which is okay too, right? But they're intentional about it, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well,
It's
I think
precious. It's precious time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of where we are now, we've talked about the importance of reflection as and taking time out for reflection, slowing down, and the that idea that being intentional about it allows you to get more out of the time that you need to take off, right? And the time you need to slow down. And maybe it's a way to actually keep your performance high in the next go around, but nobody can
Hmm.
operate, you know,
No,
at one level the whole time.
no,
Um,
no.
well, with that idea of kind of periods of performance, um, that shows up in our lives in a number of different ways, whether it's in a given day or a given week or a given athletic event, like you're talking about, um, and or in a given career. So let's talk about that next.
Right.